All right, boys. We have squeezed in our episode of Wilson Time in true Wilson Time fashion. We are getting in absolutely the last minute.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. You gotta look at Reggie.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
look at my face, but also I just wanted to say that we tried to get this in this week. It was just a really busy week with work and everything, so we weren't we weren't planning on missing it. It was just a little bit of a time crunch.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't want to disappoint the fans. It was a hectic week. So here we are, committed, getting it done, getting the episode out for you boys. So we're gonna keep this a little bit shorter and sweet. Instead of really doing a weekly recap, there was a lot of activity this week, and so I think it would be better for us just to kind of talk about what's happened. There was a lot of trades happening out there, a lot of feelings, a lot of emotion, a lot of money, and then we'll get into our weekly picks as well. So um, that being said, what a week it was. I felt like this was like some of the most trades we've ever seen in 1 week before. What do you think, Red?
Yeah, I think. By the way, the reason why I'm not on the video is because I'm driving. So that's how much dedication there is in this episode right now.
Yes, sir. We're in it.
Yeah, hell yeah. But no, this felt like a week where leading up to where people are realizing whether they're going to make the playoffs or not. This is obviously we can tell that there's a couple teams out there that aren't feeling very confident in their season. So selling early, they're doing what I've done in the past, what you've done in the past. So there's just a lot of movement, and it was fun. They got the trade talks brewing. The juices were flowing. I know I talked to a lot of people. I'm sure you did as well, but it was a good time.
Yeah, no, I agree. Good time. It is interesting. I think that with again how we are moving through the years of auction dollars and fab and all this stuff, right? That we are starting to learn a little bit more of the nuances that come around it. Normally, we don't see teams selling off until closer to the trade deadline, but as Nut said, scared money don't make no money. So I think everybody's got a little different perspective about how to use their draft cash this year. There's definitely some players out there that aren't afraid to spend their money, Cal, and
Yeah, some things never change.
yes, sir. But at the same time, we'll see how it pans out. There's still a long season ahead of us, and who knows? Maybe some of these teams can start stringing together some wins, and maybe with all that extra draft cash, buy themselves a new team, or vice versa. Some of the teams that have been buying players will sell off the players that they've been buying if things don't pan out that way. So it'll be interesting to see how everything kind of plays out as we go forward. But so let's talk. Yeah, let's talk about that. So, I mean, trades, trades, trades. That's all I can say. I will say, what day was it? Friday, yesterday? I don't
It
remember.
was Friday. Friday.
Yeah, Friday. Okay, yeah. Dude, I couldn't focus at all during work. I don't think I started work till like 1 o'clock that day because my phone was zinging all day long. I mean,
Wait, Thursday. It was
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, it was Thursday. But regardless, it was crazy. I mean, the trades that were happening, people, Garrett selling off his team and everything. It was like I didn't want to miss a single text because I was so afraid that if I wasn't on it responding immediately, that I would lose out on a deal. And it was like so hard to focus and everything was so intense. Like I was almost feeling like anxious in a way. Like I couldn't do anything else. And all I was doing was just staring at my phone the entire time. And then, once that trade went through with Gare, for myself at least, then I started getting engaged with talks for the movement manager. And it was just like, dude, my phone died halfway through the day. I was like, holy shit. But
Just sucking the juice.
yeah. But no, I mean, it was just like, it was crazy. I mean, just a testament to how fast things can move and that, if you're like, you got to be like on it because if not, I mean, there could be another offer out there. I mean, it was just like wild. And that's what makes this league so fun too. It's like seeing all these trades go through and like how action packed everything was. Like, this is probably the most thrilling I mean, fantasy football, our league's always been great and everything, but this was such a throwing week. Like when I look back on all the years and when we go forward, when I look back on this year, this is definitely going to be like one of those weeks I'll probably remember the most, just based off of like all the activity.
Yeah, no, I think there's a couple different ways you play this. I think Dare played it, as he said, the T-Pain way, which we'll switch out to the hashtag R&R way. But yeah, no, sell your players, sell your hogs, get as much draft capital as you can get back, right? Dollars, and then also at the same time pick up players that you think that maybe next year, right, that you can use as a keeper, or maybe somebody that like is going to come on strong later on down the year. That's what I did with T Higgins, and I maxed out my capital and everything like that. And then there's also the other side of it where we got people like Cal, who is going to start every year with $150, and every year he's going to probably spend the next, as much as possible to pick up players, put pieces together for his team. Obviously, his draft isn't going to be as suited to his liking because he's just drafting with no money every year.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I don't know, maybe there's something to that too, where if you get used to drafting with that little of cash, I mean, every year you do it, right? It's like you kind of get practice drafting with that little of cash, and it takes more research and everything. So not like completely out of the woodworks, but it definitely makes it more difficult. And
yeah, I would say one thing, Cal, if you think your team is a top tier team, it's not, buddy, and you think it is, and it's not. You're still shitty city, bud. You made some good moves and everything, but there's teams out there that are putting up a lot more points. They're going to continue to put up more points. So I know where Calvin's coming from. He has a better team, but it's not a top tier team. So, your philosophy is in theory it's good, but seems like every year it doesn't really pan out the way that's supposed to.
yeah, yeah. It is funny because Cal definitely likes to talk about his team, which everybody knows. But at the same time, not kind of pointing out on the podcast, it's like the teams that are going 0-3, 1-2, and stuff, like you got to make moves, right? Like you can't just sit around. That's how you start stringing together losses and you really start digging that hole. So it's like you got to make the moves. And I think the theme of this year, when we look back on it, is again, scared money don't make no money. It's like it's pretend money, right? So fuck it. Like throw out the money, whether it's draft, whether it's fab. Uh, this year we definitely have had a lot more juice going on, and it has actually been like pretty fun to see how everybody's just like way more active and more willing to take risks. And so yeah, I mean, with that being said, let's talk about some of these trades because I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and we're gonna try to keep this episode a little bit more condensed, probably a little less shitting on. Sorry, Nut. Like I got plans to be going to do some later, so we're trying to bust this out. Christian's driving home right now.
Dylan's trying to go out, guys. All right, so just you know, big
Hey,
surprise, but
the dedication to the league and the Wilson time is real. Don't discredit that. But we all know what happened in the weekly recap. I don't really want to talk about my team anyways because we lost. So, it's whatever. But let's just get in these trades. So we'll start here. Shimer and B. Johns. So we're looking at Saquon for Higbee, Juju, Jeff Wilson Jr., and $15. Now, I'll be the first and foremost to come out and say I didn't like the trade. I know Brian already knows that, and we had our discussion in the league and everything. So this isn't here to bash on, but more so, the thing that I thought for Brian with this trade that didn't really make sense to me is that, and I'm pretty sure everybody in our league can attest to it. It's like Saquon is probably going to be a top 3 running back, yeah, at least top 5. And just from years past, I haven't seen what Gare did, but from years past, I thought that maybe, with Saquon, you could have got some more draft cash. That was the thing that really didn't make too much sense to me. So I I get where Brian's coming from and building in the depth. The depth is important, right? And especially if you're going to sell off your team, like you want multiple pieces to plug and play to try to fend off that Sacco. But the $15 is what really got to me because if you have a premium player like Saquon, I know that he had multiple suitors, being one of those suitors myself. I knew that there was multiple people out there. I just didn't understand how it landed on 15. So that's the only thing I'll say about it. I've already said it, a decent amount, but do you have anything you want to say about it, Red?
Yeah, I would say, yo, this league is not for the lighthearted, right? Like a lot of shit talking in this league, and a lot of people will get a lot of heat for a lot of things that they do. I'll be the first to come out and say, like, remember when I made that trade with you when I got Tom Brady and I sent you Ben Roethlisberger and Le'Veon Bell? Like, I got
Dak
shit on
Prescott,
so
right?
hard, and I rightfully got shit on because, at that point, right, that basically was the reason why you won the ship. Le'Veon went off that year,
Yeah, it
so
was.
people make trades. A lot of people have made trades in this league, and a lot of people have had a lot to say about it. So don't take it too much to heart. And I understand, Scheimer, some people might say some things, and maybe, you don't feel it's like the most proper way of saying things, but that's kind of how the league is. I will say this, though, Scheimer, you're in a tough position because when you are the first person to sell off a player, you're the person that's setting the tone.
Yeah.
So, like, and that was the thing with, and that's why I thought it was so juicy was after that, Gare and Nutt and everybody started getting into it a little bit, right? Because um, was you saw that Saquon went for $15 and you saw an influx of people coming in saying, I would have spent more for Saquon, right? Even Brandon himself was like, I would have spent more for it as well, throw that little nugget in there. But so it was a tone setter. And kind of like you're saying, Dylan, like last year, I literally got more for DK Metcalf. I got more for DK Metcalf, and I got T. Higgins in return at the same time. So I think it was more so it was just the thought process of most people that have seen. Calvin's been a part of the buying of players. I've been a part of the selling. A lot of people have been like that. And so from our perspective, it was just like you could have got so much more out of it. You obviously didn't. And, you live and you learn from it. But yeah, Saquon is going to be probably a top 5 running back barring injury and things like that. So definitely think that in the grand scheme of all of it, yeah, depth is nice and everything like that. But there was a lot of times I sold last year where I didn't get much depth, but I try to capitalize as much on the draft capital because that was the whole reason I was selling it. So um, I was nerved by it just because I was a part of the trade talks too and everything, and I think a lot of people felt that way, and I think a lot of people would have been willing to put out more cash. So I get where everybody was like put in their 2 cents because of that reason.
Yeah. No, 100%, man. And I also want to say, Brian, like nothing malicious, man. Like there was, it's more so just purely just shit talking. It's not like all of us have made bad trades and questionable trades, and and we say what we say, but it's nothing like geared towards anybody personally. It's just, yeah, and I guess like emotions do fly a little bit. We are pretty invested in this game, in this league, and so especially when you're one of those people that is trying to make the trade with you, and it's like, man, I would have offered the house for him or something like that. That's really all it is about. It's nothing like geared towards you personally. So, anyways, interesting trade. B. Johns looks like he has a pretty solid squad together now, which I think irks everybody in the league, our biggest shit talker. So we'll see how it pans out, though. You got Saquon, but he's done the Saquon experience multiple times now. And I did think it's funny that he's talking about how he wants Saquon to shit on me at least this week. And then after that, he can get injured. I don't know why you want to get injured afterwards, anyways, B. Johns. Like, do you want to just lose out on all that? Like, I mean, go ahead, by all
It's because
means.
B Johns doesn't know what he's doing. He's at this point he's spent at this point his team is worth like $265, which is astronomical. Like It's so if he doesn't win a ship, this is a real fucking shitty situation for him to be in because he already has that, that thought process of where people are like, you're subpar in the league, but then now, right? He had tied with the most draft cash, and now he's spending even more draft cash to build up this team. So if it doesn't pan out for him and he doesn't win the ship, it's really like, man, this is a big sock into the fucking gut.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's move on to the next one here. So I'm actually going to start with this one, and because it kind of ties into the other one. So Pate and Gare, and so we have Pate sending off Rashad Bateman and DJ, or I mean, Sky. Wait, who's the Moore in that? Oh, Elijah Moore. Excuse
Elijah
me.
Moore.
Yeah, there you go, Elijah Moore, and $25 draft for Debo. So this trade for me, I thought the player swap was pretty good. And honestly, from the talks that I heard from, that were happening, because I was also engaged to try to get Debo, $25, like solid. And Gare, kudos to Gare. He had really good communication. I even texted him, told him, because I know between Debo and Mike Evans that I'm sure he was getting a lot of people hitting him up, and I'm like, dude, it can be a lot. So appreciate the communication, the transparency. It was nice, and it was a pleasure talking that way. Trade talks. But the player swap I actually thought was good for Gare. You got two startable players and possibly some keepers out of it. So, and you got a pretty good haul and draft cash for Debo there. On paid side, of course, you got Debo. I mean, I wanted Debo over Mike Evans, to be honest with you. And I think that for Pate, it really bolstered his squad. He has a pretty good squad for what he put together with the limited draft cash he has, but now he's got that extra stud on his team. And Pate's been putting up pretty decent points every week, too. So I think it was a good move for him. Thought it was a good move for Gare. A good trade all the way around. I think Gare will be able to. It's not like he sold off Debo for nothing, right? Like he's got some players he can put in there that can actually put up points. And Debo, it's kind of interesting too. Debo's kind of slid a little bit this season. We'll see how it goes with Jimmy. That was my only concern trading for Debo is, obviously he had Jimmy last year, but it's kind of been a slower start for Debo. So I wonder, if he's going to start picking up. But, Garrett definitely maximized on his money, with the 25 there.
Yeah, I think I think this was a good trade. Yeah, this is how you do it right here. I think you look at it, you look at two players that you can put in your lineup weekly, and you can, not with like crazy confidence, right? But you can put them in there with confidence, and then like you said, not too much of for like a keeper next year. And then for on Trone's portion, right? Terry McLaurin not looking as like the true wide receiver one as we were expecting Terry McLaurin to. Like there's a lot of target share that's going to Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. He's splitting a lot of those targets with them. So I think it's nice for Trone because for one, DeAndre Swift just went out. Who knows how long he'll be out for, probably a couple weeks or something like that. So he needs a stud in there. So even if Debo doesn't go back to full form of last year, shit, he was top three in wide receivers last year. So who even cares if he drops down a little bit?
Sure.
I think that it's going to be a super good pickup for him because if we look at it, Antonio Gibson, once Brian Robinson comes back, who knows when that'll happen, but when he does, right, he's going to be needing somebody to boost his squad up a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good trade. I have no worries with Debo, but I also like that Gary got back in return with that.
Absolutely. So with that being said, and it was kind of a domino effect. So the next trade was between myself and Gare. And so, of course, I sent over DJ Moore and $27 draft cash to Gare for Mike Evans. And so I'll kind of just explain my thought process in it. And Nut pointed this out to me, so I'll make sure to give him a shout out for this. But I spent the third most money on a single player in our league's history on Mike Evans, which I wasn't thrilled to hear, but at the same time, scared money don't make no money. That's our theme for this year. So, obviously everybody kind of knows I've been trying to hand off DJ Moore. Not so much in the sense that I don't have or I don't like DJ Moore, but more so in the sense that I didn't want two Panthers on my squad. It's like they're not putting up
Yeah,
enough.
let's just say you don't like Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield is shit in the bed, and so I didn't want to double down on that whole offense there. If it was like the Chiefs where they're putting up a shit ton of points, or the Bills or something, that would be another story. But when you're getting like one touchdown a game, I'm gonna try to bank on their best player in McCaffrey and not so much rely on Baker to get the ball to DJ. But I still like DJ Moore. I mean, his usage is still crazy. It's still top 10 in usage out of wide receivers. So it's not like I completely hated him. But again, kind of like you said, Garrett did it right. He was being transparent with me about the offers and everything coming in. And at the end of the day, I was looking at my squad and I felt like I was just like one piece away from really like getting a pretty well-rounded team. And so we settled on $27 and I said, okay, not that I really wanted to, but I got some other plans in the work depending on how things shake out. So it was just really to get like another player in there. And also like that Bucks offense has looked like dog shit. And pretty much I think it's just because they haven't had their wide receivers out there. And so Mike Evans, I was looking at it, like I wanted Debo first and foremost, but because like for me, if I would have gone Debo, I probably wouldn't have moved Fournette. I mean, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I just think with Mike Evans, he's been a top 10 wide receiver in standard scoring for the last like 6 years at least. And so, I'm going to take consistency, and Brady obviously needs one of his top targets back. Mike Evans is the guy that always gets the touchdown. So, between Jamar Chase, Michael Pittman, and Mike Evans, I felt pretty good about pulling the trigger and solidifying that.
Yeah. When I think about this trade, I think 27 is a lot. I would say I was in the talks with Gare. I was looking. I was holding steady at 22. Gare was fine with 22, and then I pulled off my offer. But I think it was because I was offering somebody that was a little bit more keeper friendly. So that was probably the biggest thing for Thug was Garrett was just he was trying to get keepers. He's trying to get people with high upside that he could possibly look forward to next season. So I thought the 27 was rich, but I would say this, yeah, if there's one person that's going to be on the Bucks like that you can trust the most is going to be probably Mike Evans because he played a full year last year. He hasn't gotten injured this year, so he's been consistent. He gets the touchdowns, he gets the air yards, he gets the targets. Um, and then Chris Godwin's always injured, and Julio Jones, who knows when he comes back, and all this other stuff. So if you're going to take one of them, you're probably going to take Mike Evans. So I think that's good, and I think for Garrett, DJ Moore, right? Like it's a fly, but at the same time, you made back a lot of draft cash, and that's like the biggest thing. And with his other trade, the Bateman and Elijah Moore, you can play with these receivers a little bit more. Um, so the only thing I'm worried about with Mike Evans is I honestly think there is something going on with that Tampa Bay offense where Todd Bowles took over. He's a defensive minded coach. They've been pounding the rock with Fournette, which could be the reason why, probably from wide receivers not being there and stuff. But Tom Brady just doesn't have as much time in the pocket. So I was a little bit more reluctant on Mike Evans because of that reason. But I don't think he finishes like outside a top 15 wide receiver. So I still think you get a good one. I just didn't know if I wanted to spend the draft capital, and then the guy that I was offering up was also a keeper. And I thought to myself, well, T. Higgins very injury prone. Maybe I want to keep this guy as a possible keeper for next year.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like I said, it was a bit rich. Trust me, I wasn't really thrilled that I did it, but in the 27, I mean. But at the end of the day, I still feel pretty solid. So moving on here, now we got Gabi and Cal. So Gabi sends over Travis Etienne to Cal for Romeo Dubs and $13 in draft cash. Now, Dubs actually like I think anytime you get potentially the number one wide receiver from Aaron Rodgers there, I think you're going to get good output from him. The ETN to Cal, I I like Etienne in the sense that I think his workload, well, obviously, again, this kind of falls into the other trade that happened, but Etienne's workload is he's carving out a little bit more of a role each week. He's more that passing down back, but I do think it's funny that Cal is sending out, $13 for Etienne. Like I thought maybe it'd be a little bit lower. And who knows too, like if Cal would have kept Romeo Dubs, like maybe he would have had his own like juicy wide receiver there. Even though Cal does have a plethora of wide receivers, it kind of seems like Christian Kirk, Mike Williams. I guess with Godwin would have been a nice bench player there and has some depth. But I don't know, kind of neutral about the trade. I like both players. I probably like Dubs a little bit more right now, just based off of what we're kind of seeing. And I've read a lot of stuff about buying him. So I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one.
Yeah, this one was kind of interesting to me because I started seeing in the mind of Calvin here in the Calvin system, where he's buying these players and then he's turning them around and then selling them for bigger name players and then also buying those players at the same time. So the dude's basically just doubling up on buying players. Um, so Calvin's doing anything in his power right now to try to become relevant and
Must be relevant
so
so bad.
like it was just weird to me that you pick up ETN and then you turn around, flip them. So who knows? Calvin's system might be working, it might not. I feel like Calvin has no. He's like the least scared to throw that money around. Romeo Dubs, like I don't know, like I don't think that Romeo Dubs is going to be anything like crazy. I think he might be a nice stash for next year or something like that. Who knows? I don't see anybody on that team. Alan Lazard's going to get all the red zone looks, and I think he'll be decent, but not like great. So who knows? That might be a nice like little like fill-in play for like a bye week or something like that. Who knows? But also, that trade is kind of neutral for me too. Yeah, it wasn't anything like crazy that stood out.
Yeah, could be a possible keeper too in Dubs. Um, yeah, and so that kind of leads into my trade with Cal. So I sent over the movement manager for ETN, CEH, and $5 in draft cash from Cal. So pretty much my thought process on this. I didn't really want to move Leonard, but after I got Mike Evans, and until I see the Bucks,
They're stacking people.
Yeah, I didn't really want to have to double down on the Bucks offense too much. And more so, not even just that. My whole thought process was there was two things that were involved. One, I didn't have much depth in running back, and so if and the other second part of it is how much usage Fournette's getting. So we all know that Fournette's been injury prone before. So he's been last game he played 97% of the snaps for Tampa. He's been on the field for like 85% or something like that, some crazy high number through each game this season. And I just don't know if that's sustainable for Fournette without him getting injured. And I tried to get Rachaad White, but wasn't able to do it. Shout out to Jesse. And so I was nervous that if he went down, pretty much the only running back I'd have to be able to fill in is Chase Edmonds, who obviously has been very lackluster so far. So part of it was I like that I was reading that ETN's been carving out more of a role, getting more snaps, playing time. I'm not saying he's taken over, but it is encouraging to see. And then yeah, my fucking boy Clyde. I with him, I like him to an extent. The snap usage isn't my favorite, but he does play for the Chiefs. He's a starting running back for the Chiefs. So it was more just having more depth there. And I got a little bit of that draft cash back to make up for that 27 I spent for Mike. And who knows? It's kind of like more of a gamble sort of thing. Like, yeah, I just want to see if hopefully one of these players out of those 3 running backs I have now hit, and if they don't, well, okay, back to the drawing board. But if one of them does hit, then great, it worked out. So it's more of a gamble I'm willing to take. I just wanted the depth there because now I'm kind of trying to pull a Jaden where I want to stack the 3 wide receivers, have that solid wide receiving core, and then I have my Hog and McCaffrey. But I did think that when I did get some other offers and everything for Leonard, and there was a couple that were good. It was just I think that with Cal's team, it made the most sense for both of us where I needed more depth and Calvin needed a just like put him in and forget it running back. With the running back situation he's had, instead of doing the carousel with the Cowboys running backs or having to rely on Melvin, or even if he had kept ETN and CEH, it's like you never know who to actually put in. And so now he's got a running back that you can just put in, start each week, and feel good about it. So we're talking, when the trade was going down, I just felt like it made the most sense for both of our teams to what we're trying to accomplish, and that's essentially why I went through.
Yeah, this one I get the depth, and then I also get Calvin wanting to get like a bona fide just like RB1 essentially that like you can plug in there. I don't know. This one I was kind of like impartial to because I was like I've already kind of said my piece about the ETN stuff, and then I also have already kind of talked about CEH, like the guy's very I don't know, his usage is like not as what I would like it to be, like you're kind of talking about. But then also the dude like had 7 rushing for 0 yards last week, so it was like really tough. So I don't know. I don't really know who wins or who loses in this one. I feel very impartial to it, and I might have taken that Leonard Fournette. Who knows? I never really made an offer for it, but I never really thought about it either.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
like,
I put him on the trade block, and kind of like I said, things move fast, and there was a couple other people hitting me up about him, but it just wasn't tickling my fancy. So could have made a move.
Yeah, true. All right, let's go into the next.
Yeah, so the last one is between Nut and Cal, so it just happened. Nut sends over Zach Ertz. Cal sends over Kyle Pitts and $12 in draft cash.
No, Nut sends over Kyle Pitts, and Calvin sends over Ertz and $12 draft cash.
Oh, my bad. I put this in wrong. Yep.
Yeah, you said it back. You said it backwards.
Yep, you got it right.
Better get it right, dude.
So yeah, no, I thought Nut did good on this one. I saw Calvin last night. I talked to him about it, and I don't know, man. Kyle Pitts is like obviously it's Kyle Pitts. Like I like Kyle Pitts a lot. He's gonna be a top tight end, but also just like the big games that you expect and everything haven't really been there so far. So it kind of makes me question with this new offense that they're running down Atlanta with Mariota and stuff, and they have Drake London out there. I don't know. It's just like interesting to see how it's kind of panning out. But I thought, Zach Ertz is still a pretty good tight end. And
no, he's still a tight end one in our league.
Definitely. Yeah. And so, with the tight end wasteland out there, I thought Ertz was already pretty solid. So for me, it was the $12 that got sent out after Cal already spent money to get Ertz as well. So really kind of spent like, I don't remember how
17.
much. Yeah, 17 already. Yeah. For Kyle Pitts then. And, is it going to be the tight end that's really going to take you over the hump? Like, I would, if Pitts was putting out more right now, it would make a little more sense to me. But I just, without seeing it and seeing how Atlanta's offense is, I don't know. It's just kind of tough for me. I'm like, I would almost rather just kept Ertz and see what happens there. But at the same time, I know Nut was out there shopping Pitts, and so maybe it was just like I had to jump on it and see what happens. Scare money don't make no money.
Yeah. This one we're back on the old Calvin carousel, where buying players and then shipping them over and paying more cash. And so I think this one, yeah, for me, Pitts gets the targets, but I just don't even think I just don't believe in Mariota. Like that's my biggest problem here. Is like, okay, Kyle Pitts had over 1,000 yards last season. He had Matt Ryan throwing him the ball, and he only had one touchdown. So yet to get a touchdown this year, right? So continuing the trend of not getting the touchdowns, but he's also not getting the usage, and he's not catching as many passes, and he's also not getting as many yards as he was getting consistently last year. So I'm just wondering to myself, like, is it not necessarily just Kyle Pitts? Maybe it's the scheme that they're running, or maybe it's the fact that Mariota just, even though Matt Ryan's fucking washed up, maybe Mariota's just not as a precise passer as we would like, you know. And so I was in talks for Kyle Pitts too, and I thought about it, and both the Debo and the Kyle Pitts, I was talking, and immediately they were just like, "Oh, I have an offer that I can't pass up." I'm like, "Well, fuck me." Like, I was like, I didn't even get a fucking get my my final deal in there, you know. So I was looking at Kyle Pitts, but at the same time, I was looking more around $10, and I wasn't giving up another tight end because obviously Dalton Schultz, who knows what he's going to be. So I like it on both ends. It's good, but yeah, I like Nuts portion here. Like he got a decent amount of money back for Kyle Pitts, and he still got a tight end one. So
Yeah.
like he didn't downgrade whatsoever in my book. Like yeah, Kyle Pitts might be end of year like ranking being like projected top like third tight end, but Ertz isn't far behind. And really, what's the difference between what Pitts finishes at the end of the year versus what Ertz finishes at the end of the year? I don't think it's that big of a difference. And I think that Nut got draft cash out of it. So I think Nut comes out on top on this one, to be honest.
No, I feel the same way. Absolutely. Again, like both players, but like you said, I mean, just how tight ends score. And when we look at the end of the year, is it really going to be much of a difference between the tight end 3 and say like tight end 6 or whatnot? Probably not. So do you really want to, utilize your draft cash like that? And especially in Calvin's position where he's already spent so much money, maybe you want to save some of that money and, try to buy a different player later on and upgrade again. But we'll see how it shakes out. Yeah, so it was an interesting week of trades. A lot of action, real exciting, and some questionable trades, including myself. But it was definitely thrilling. So let's get into the matchups real quick here, and we'll wrap it up, and we'll give a little update too on where we're at as far as our records go in picking. So Red, you're 7-2, pretty solid. Myself, I'm 6-3, so right behind you. And together we are 1-1. So we didn't pick last week because we were playing against each other. Fuck you, Red, for beating me. But turns out I need to figure out how to get a kicker in here.
Yeah, this is the week my team turns around, my boy.
Yeah, same. B. Jones is gonna eat my. What did he say in the group chat that one day? He sucked the cum out of my balls.
I don't even know. I don't know. It's funny because Bijan, I feel like didn't drink much at the draft, but I feel like he's just drunk every time he's on, Group Me. So
well, he's definitely gonna be shitty now after what happened in the Dolphins.
True that.
Okay, so I'll start off. You got yourself versus COD, and we already sent this out in the group chat, obviously, so you guys saw this already. But you guys' matchup, I actually think is not so close, actually, now that I think about it. Maybe it's because he's got DJ Chark still in his lineup, so his thing's kind of getting thrown off there.
Well, yeah,
he's gonna have to
he has who's out for him again?
DJ Chark, Michael Thomas, and Hunter Renfrow. So he's gonna have to throw in Claypool, Valdez Scantling, or
hell yeah, dude! DJ Chark's out. Let's go.
Yeah, or Cole Hardman. So I mean,
COD.
yeah, unless Nick Chubb has an out of world game, and same with Kyler Murray, I think you just have more players that are better, and you got some pretty favorable matchups. So yeah, I'm taking you, bud.
It's gonna be a James Conner type of game. I can feel
it. Yeah, hopefully the ankle holds up. All right, for you have Nut and Diz. You remember?
So this was my. I like to throw a little flyer in there because last week I threw a flyer in there. I said Diz was going to beat COD, and Diz's team was fucking ass. And going into it, yeah, And so this week I'm taking Nut over Diz. However, that really kind of fucked me over because Tua went out, and so Nut's now not looking too prime, but I'm still sticking with it. I think you can do it, Nut. I have faith in the squad that you have.
I know this is pretty pressed because so far, well, I guess you picked him last week, but majority of the time we've picked everybody against him, and I don't know, it is maybe that's a testament to your team there, but keep proving us wrong, buddy.
Getting gritty with the whole fucking the Raiders.
Yeah, don't act like the nation. That'll definitely put you in the hole. All right, for me, I got a crap bag versus Alec. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go cleaner on it, and mainly it's because Garrett just sold off most of his squad. We'll see if his new pieces here can really teach. It might be closer than we think though, because Cleaner does have some pretty tough matchups with some of his hog players. Like Patty Mahomes versus Tampa Bay, Aaron Jones versus New England, Jacobs versus Denver, Kittle versus Rams. But I just think he has more firepower. You know, Garrett just really needs to kind of prove himself before I can really start considering picking him. Yeah, I think Cleaner is going to be off to a nice little start this year, going 3-1.
And then next I got you and
B.
B
Johns.
Johns. Yeah, I'm taking B Johns in this one, and basically because Jamar Chase just isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, and so you're starting out this week with a little bit of a lackluster Thursday night.
Yeah.
And then also B Johns just swooped up Saquon Barkley for basically fucking like a glass of water and a piece of bread. So
Oh, it's so annoying too. Well, we'll see what happens with B. Johns here. Yeah, I mean, definitely has some hogs. Fuck Corey Davis, though. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Up next for me, I got Jesse versus Pate. So
all right, we gotta make this quick. I'm gonna lose service soon.
Yeah, no worries, all good. So I picked Jesse. Again, Jesse's just been proving it, living in the end zone. Jalen Waddle kind of shit the bed a bit the other night, but I don't know. He's got some pretty solid running backs in there. I think that Khalil Herbert's gonna have himself a game against the Giants too. So I know he's got Deebo in there, but I think
Jesse lives in the end zone, so
yeah,
it's hard to go up against something like that.
Yeah, no, I you gotta pick him. All right, next you got Jaden versus Gobby.
Taking Gobby in this one. Gobby's been putting up decent points. And then also at the same time, Jaden had Tyler Boyd in there, so he had to put him in. He has starting Josh Reynolds. Just a couple people, Amon Ra, he's out, so it's a little bit tough for Jaden right now. But in Gobby's team, man, that fucking Joe Mixon had a good night, and then Lamar Jackson. I just can't bet against Lamar Jackson right now. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, he's been looking insane. And then lastly, together we have Cal versus Brian. So, pretty much
Brian sold off his top hog, so let's go Cal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Brian still has some good pieces, but I think Cal's revamped squad there. I think Tom Brady gets right this week in the prime time game versus Kansas City. And I think we'll be close, but I think Cal pulls it together and starts coming back up. And, Brian continues to try to figure out what to do this season with his team.
Yeah.
So, well, all right, boys. I guess that's pretty much all we got for this week. Next week we'll try to be more on it. Again, we're trying to be consistent with it. We don't want to leave you guys hanging. We got to, get it done for our fans out here. So, appreciate you guys sticking with us on it, and it'll be a good time tomorrow. We'll see what happens. I think we'll get a little bit closer here. The season's moving on. Things starting to really shake out.
All right, boys. Hell yeah, brother.
Oh yeah, brother. Well, see you all tomorrow for the festivities, boys.
Later.